asked, not answered, now answered.
Is the FBI getting involved?
Based on the fact that it's an ongoing matter, there's not much I can say.
Less than 24 hours after that comment, we now know the FBI is getting involved with this story. As we come on the air, the Trump administration is again escalating its scrutiny of the now infamous video involving 6 Democratic lawmakers. The FBI now looking to schedule interviews with each of them. Senator Elissa Slotkin writing today that, quote, the FBI's counterterrorism division appeared to open an inquiry, end quote, into her. And in a joint statement today, some of the lawmakers said the president is, quote, using the FBI as a tool to intimidate and harass members of Congress. This newest involvement by the FBI happening less than a day after the Pentagon said it was starting its own investigation into Senator Mark Kelly, even threatening to recall him to active duty to potentially face a court-martial.
I'm not going to be silenced. I'm not going to be intimidated. I mean, these two guys, they inform me of this in a tweet because this is not about the law. This is about the media cycle, and it's about intimidation.
All right, let's get off the sidelines and head into the arena. My panel is here. We're also joined by CNN correspondent Arlette Saenz and CNN senior White House correspondent Kristen Holmes, who is live from West Palm Beach. The president is going to be heading there later this evening for the holiday. But Arlette, let me start with you. What more are we learning here about what the FBI wants from these members of Congress?
Well, Casey, the FBI is seeking interviews with these 6 Democratic lawmakers who had posted that video reminding members of the military and the intelligence community that they would not have to obey unlawful orders from the president. Now, one big question is what exactly these interviews are for. The sources have yet to detail what type of investigation might be underway from the FBI. But as you mentioned, Senator Elissa Slotkin said that she believed that it was the FBI's counterterrorism division which opened an inquiry into her and potentially other lawmakers as well. Now, there was a joint statement from the 4 Democratic House lawmakers who were part of that video, and they wrote, quote, President Trump is using the FBI as a tool to intimidate and harass members of Congress. They went on to add, no amount of intimidation or harassment will ever stop us from doing our jobs and honoring our Constitution. But this news that the FBI is seeking interviews with these 6 Democratic lawmakers is a significant escalation, just days after President Trump went to Truth Social and accused these lawmakers of engaging in seditious behavior punishable by death. Now, at the same time as the FBI is requesting these interviews, there is also the Pentagon, which has launched a separate investigation into allegations of misconduct, specifically into Senator Mark Kelly, who is a retired captain in the U.S. Navy. So we're still waiting to learn a bit more of what the FBI wants with these interviews, whether these lawmakers will sit with it. But what we've heard from these Democratic lawmakers is that they are really undeterred amid the president's threats, saying that they will not be intimidated from speaking out.
All right, so Kristen, what are you hearing from the administration about how this is unfolding?
Yeah, I mean, Casey, same on the side of the administration. They're undeterred. This is something that they want. President Trump himself wants these investigations. We know that the White House supports this. They know about it, and that they want these kinds of investigations brought into anyone who they believe challenges President Trump. Now, in this case in particular, you heard Arlette talking there about some of the things that President Trump had said. Sedition can be punishable by death. Just to paint a clear picture here, this really angered President Trump to the point where he was posting and reposting 16 times in a row just on this video alone. And the pushback from the White House has remained the same. They say that these Democratic lawmakers can't answer questions about what illegal requests the administration or orders the administration was giving to the military, and therefore that equates to them telling these members of the military or the intelligence community to circumvent the chain of command. That is the argument from the White House. What we have heard about how this all came to be is that the FBI, who, by the way, Kash Patel was meeting with President Trump in the Oval Office today, sought out meetings with these various lawmakers by first going to U.S. Capitol Police, who then directed them to the Sergeant at Arms, who handles all things as the chief law enforcement officer of both the Senate and the House. There's both the House and Senate Sergeant of Arms. So the FBI sent these letters to the Senate Sergeant of Arms in order to try and get these meetings. Now, whether or not they've actually been in touch in any way beyond that, completely unclear at this moment. But it should be noted that the president is all in on this. He is backing this fully, and he wants to see these investigations, which is likely why you're seeing them brought.
All right, Kristen Holmes, Arlette Saenz, thank you both very much for starting us off today. Really appreciate it. Our panel is here in the arena. CNN contributor, New York Times journalist, and podcast host Lulu Garcia-Navarro, a CNN political analyst, national political reporter for Axios, Alex Thompson, former Democratic congressman from New York, Max Rose, and CNN senior political commentator, Scott Jennings. We are also joined by CNN senior law enforcement analyst, the former deputy director at the FBI, Andrew McCabe. And sir, I'd like to start with you, Director McCabe. I guess what I'm trying to understand here, what we know from these lawmakers is that these interviews have been requested. Now, that would suggest that they are at this point not compelling these members to testify. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that would take a judge, I believe, to actually sign off and say, yes, we should do this. What is your understanding of what the counterterrorism division at the FBI could possibly be investigating about a video that 6 Democratic members of Congress put together and put on the internet?
Well, Casey, I can't tell you exactly what they're thinking, but I can tell you what they shouldn't be doing. And what they shouldn't be doing here is anything with respect to this whole issue. And this is not a close call by any stretch. So you cannot conduct investigative activity for anything if the factual predication or the basis of that request to initiate investigative activity is based solely on First Amendment protected activity. And that is exactly what we have here. This is like the red hot molten core of First Amendment protected activity. These are political people engaged in political speech. There is no, to my understanding of the reporting, there is no alleged conduct or behavior or efforts to actually contact people in the military and convince them to do something illegal or to take those steps themselves. None of that. This is entirely First Amendment protected activity. And Director Patel's comments today that he was going to leave it up to the career agents and analysts in the FBI to determine whether or not there was adequate predication is also wrong. And I think reveals once again that he has little understanding for how the FBI works. And that agents don't, first of all, analysts don't open cases. Agents don't open cases. They request that cases be open, and that request goes to a supervisor, and the supervisor has to check first for exactly this. That's the first box you check. Is this based on First Amendment protected activity exclusively? Here, it very much is. What's more, to go forward and open a case on a member of Congress, a sitting elected political leader, by definition makes it a sensitive investigative matter. And that request would have to be approved by the chief counsel of the field office. It has to go to headquarters, get approved there. DOJ has to get notified within 14 days. So at every one of those levels, someone hopefully would have the good sense to say, there is no business for the FBI here. And that's what they should be doing with this.
So if these requests have gone out already to the Sergeant at Arms in the House and the Senate for these interviews, would your understanding be that all of those things have potentially either already happened or been totally circumvented for this request to go out?
I think either is possible, and I'd really like to know exactly what was the argument, what's the threat, and what is the information that they have that some sort of threat might exist. What is the predication and the reason for this, and how do they possibly overcome the concern of First Amendment protected activity being the only basis for this investigation? It raises, I think, really disturbing questions about how much the Bureau, in some ways, has been cowed by this administration and their heavy-handed, vengeful kind of activity, even within the organization, right? People who stand up and do things that the president doesn't like get fired. People who resist the current direction and strategies and the way the organization is being utilized, or maybe have participated in investigations in the past that are now disfavored for one political reason or another, get fired. And the danger of doing that is exactly this. You cow the organization and some of its leadership into approving things and engaging in things that they know they shouldn't do, but they go along with the pressure that's been applied on them.